The internet has changed everything. People don't take the media from one source. There's going to be a lot more individuals doing their own thing who are able to sway the narrative, and I want to be one of them. I like to hear lots of different opinions. Even if I'm going to do what I'm going to do, I'll still listen. There's always something in something that someone has said that could help you. And I think things like the BBC, I can see that fragmenting quite quickly. People aren't watching it. They don't want to watch it. They don't want to be told what the news should be or how they should be thinking.
Hi, my name is Jason Gale. I'm the founder of the Lifestyle Awards. I'm really delighted that I've been joined today by Nana Akua. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Jason. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's fab that you've come here because I know there's lots of things that I want to talk to you about. In fact, I've got 2 pages of questions.
Oh, wow.
But knowing you, I'll ask one and then you'll go off and an hour later we'll be sat here just answering that first question. But as you know, the Lifestyle Awards, one of our big celebrations is the London Lifestyle Awards. And that's where I wanted to start, really. You're obviously known because you're a journalist and a TV presenter and you had a phenomenal career. How has London impacted that? You know, how has London been central or how it's influenced your career?
Oh, well, London, I mean, that was... because my family lived in Chelmsford in Essex. And the very first time I came to London on my own, so with my friends, but without family, because we always used to drive to London to see my grandparents or great-great-grandma, whoever they were. They called literally any black person who my family knew. They were like a brother, sister, cousin or whatever. Yeah. And from Chelmsford, it would take us like almost a day to get to London because there was no M25. So we'd stop off, get some KFC and this and that. And it was like a proper outing. But the first time I actually went to London, kind of on my own, but with friends, was when I went to a James Brown concert. Okay. James Brown, Brixton Academy. I think I was 17. And I was, at the time, I was at a boarding school, but I was a day pupil now because my parents had come back from the States. And it was, I could just remember it was just phenomenal. And we watched James Brown on stage. I've even kept the flyer, which was the letters J, B, and an S. And I actually coated them in sellotape.
Oh, wow.
And put them in my diary. So I've got like a diary from that era, that year when I first went to London on my own with my friends sort of thing. And this laminated James Brown flyer. And I just I fell in love with London then, to be fair. And I can just remember that there was a 7-Eleven afterwards. Remember the 7-Elevens?
Yeah, of course.
That was like the latest thing that stayed open at the time.
Yeah.
And we stopped off at the 7-Eleven and I got one of those nasty little burgers that you put in their microwave.
Yeah.
It was great. But that was my sort of real taste of actually the sort of night scene in London. And to be honest, it is quite addictive, isn't it? Let's be frank.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know if this was for you, because I'm a dour Yorkshireman. When I first came to London, it had this sort of magical appeal. It was almost like a wonderland to me. You know, I saw my first McDonald's. I had my first McDonald's in London. I haven't had one for years, by the way, but I had my first, and I just couldn't believe it. Is that how you felt? I know you had a lot easier access to London than I did, being in Essex, but was it a magical wonderland for you? Is that how you felt?
Well, yeah, exactly. And the thing is, after I sort of obviously went back home, spent my time doing my studies, I then decided to go and study, and I went up north to the University of Sunderland. It was by sheer fluke, because my parents were actually, I'm a Geordie, I was born in Newcastle. So I was hoping to go to Newcastle, but I'd missed it on the alphabet because you had to do it. It was it was actually a PCAS at the time because it was a polytechnic at the time. But it was the form, and I'd gone non-alphabetical, and I thought, oh God, I'm going to have to choose the next one, the next closest thing, which was Sunderland. And I came out of Sunderland University, and the first job I got was actually at Kiss 100 in London.
Right.
And that was off Holloway Road. And I can remember going into the building for the interview, and then the music went through my body, and I thought, I'm going to work here. I have to. So I worked at Kiss 100 on Holloway Road, and that literally opened the doors to every single club in London there was.
Of course it did.
Of course it did. And so I became a VIP in every club. So I created this thing called Kiss Club Sponsorship. And this was like a sponsored tour of clubs because I was in sponsorship. I wasn't on the air.
Right.
So I created an online, a sponsored sort of event from different clubs around London. So I had to try every single club and then create like a page, which I've still got the little booklet as well, I should have brought it, of each of the different clubs. So the kind of venue it was, the kind of person that would go there, the age range, and I can remember like Club Iceni, Flipside, Camden Palais, all of them, Café de Paris, all of them. And Kiss 100 had Kiss clubs.
Yeah.
So I actually created Kiss club sponsorship. Oh, wow. Then I would, sort of go around and try and get the advertisers to advertise sponsored tours. And I can remember the first one I did was with Firetrap. And it was like, and I said, set the skylight with Firetrap. And it actually went London, Leeds, Manchester, because we had Kiss stations across.
Yeah.
But to create that whole sort of document for advertisers, I had to sample everything. And it was fabulous.
And you loved it?
It was brilliant.
So how many years did you do that for?
Well, I was at Kiss for just about a year and a half.
Okay.
But that was long enough for me to do, they had their own stage at Carnival.
Right.
So I'd experienced Carnival, properly.
Yeah.
Not with everybody else, but with Kiss's stage. And from Kiss, I moved to Capital Radio. And Capital Radio was like the next layer. So not only could you get into any club, but this time it was more like the Café de Paris and all the sort of like higher end clubs that were based in Leicester Square. So.
And were you still in the sort of commercial department at that point? You still sponsorship, advertising?
I was, but what had happened was one of my clients, Durex, heard my voice. And they said, I wrote their promo. And they said, would you voice it? So I wrote it and read it to them. And they said, would you voice it? And I can remember the last line, make it a date, make it a safer date with Durex at Kiss 100. And so I did the voiceover. I remember I earned 30 quid for like 5 minutes work. And I thought, that's actually really good money.
Yeah.
30 quid, 5 minutes.
Fantastic.
What? So I started doing promos. And that's how I ended up with my voice, doing things with my voice.
And were you writing at this point? Have you always wrote?
Well, I used to write, but what I would write would be sponsorship proposals and presentations, and I'd go into all the big advertising agencies like Saatchi's and DMB&B, and so I would always write, but I wasn't a writer, as it were. I wasn't writing, concepts about different things like Rwanda and stuff like that, or political writing. It was always to attract a client or sell something. Because I was a salesperson. That's how I started.
Was you naturally, a gifted writer? Was you that came naturally to you? Or is it something that you studied? Is something that you went to learn to do? What I'm trying to get at is somebody who wants to write. What advice would you give them? To be able to start writing.
I'd say don't listen to anyone. I was told I couldn't write. I wasn't very good at English in their eyes, but that's because I wrote English in the way I speak. So there are different types of writing, and I think they were after some complex thou art, blah, blah, blah. But that's not how I write. And I really didn't realise that I could write at all. And it was only when I started to, work for the BBC and people like that, where I started to realise, actually, I do this every day, and actually, I really can write. And actually, it was only really at GB News where I went, where they left me to write.
Okay. So
like all the monologues, I write all my monologues, I write everything, I write the formats of my show. I'm used to creating something that you would sell. So I write all the different things, the different features, I created them, and then I write the scripting. And there was only at GB News where I've been left free to write, that I've been able to write with music and images, and you get the freedom of creativity to come out with that. And then it's where I realised, oh my God, I can write, I can really write. And so I remember having a meeting with the Daily Mail and saying, they probably wouldn't have someone like me, but I'd love to have a column or something. And I remember Oliver saying, well, maybe. And then like a couple of weeks later, then somebody came to my house and they did a whole shoot at my house. But I just thought it was for something they were going to put in the paper about me.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they announced, Nana Akua, new columnist.
And was that a great day?
It was a wonderful day.
Yeah.
I had a double page in the middle of the newspaper.
It's funny you saying that. People said you couldn't write. It's probably my favourite thing I love to do. I write. I write for myself every day. I'll post a few blogs and things like that, and I actually love it. And for years and years and years, people told me I couldn't write at all, and now some people actually quite like it. So we've both had that sort of journey. Mine hasn't ended up in a column in the Daily Mail there, but you never know. One day.
There's still time.
Yeah, there's still time. I'm obviously young still.
Yeah, exactly.
So you never know. So that's what advice you'd give to somebody who wants to be a journalist, is just basically don't listen to people.
Don't listen to them. Just write your own thing. Do your thing. And especially now with the era of social media and, there's so many options. There's no excuse, really. You could write your own thing, create your own following, and just keep writing. You have to be consistent with writing, though. If you want to keep an audience. Otherwise, if you just write one thing and then you never write anything else, nobody will be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I talk about social media. I love it because when I had a PR company and I used to have to get an editor to say, yes, we'll publish this to get publicity. Now you don't. You can create your own audience and you can just go do it. So have you always been in media? Have you had any other, interest careers?
I have always been in media, but and whatever I do, I always try and create something within it. So when I had my first child, Africa, she's very sweet. She's 15 now. When I had my first child, my partner at the time, he was working during the day. So I thought I need to create, because I took 2 years off. I'd saved enough money to just chill out for a bit. Then I thought, right, I need to create something during the day or during the evening whilst he's at work so I can go off. And so I thought, well, everyone says, oh, you're really fit, Nana. And I am fit, as in fit. I work hard to stay fit. I used to be a gymnast.
Right.
So I thought, I've always wanted to do it. Jane Fonda, I loved Jane Fonda. So I became qualified as a fitness instructor. And I thought, well, I'll set up a business. So I set up a fitness business where it was just a few classes in the evening. And then Zumba came along.
Right.
I love Zumba. I love dancing, right? And that came along and it was just so much, it was like fun. You don't speak on the stage, you go, it's all hand signals, eye movements and everything. You don't need to speak on stage and everyone comes along and you do the dance and you teach people the dance. So you go like that and then you do the move and then they go, then everyone. So it's quite a sort of interactive without actually speaking.
Right, okay.
But everyone joins in and then they understand the language.
Yeah.
And I started teaching that. And within a very short space of time, the venue was packed with like 80 people.
Oh, wow.
I was charging a £5 at the time. I thought, 80 people, £5, this is very good. So what I used to make them do when they all came in was I used to make them put an email address and, all the data capture stuff. Because that's the background I've come from.
Yeah.
So I'd have that. I ended up having bouncers on the door because it'd be up to 100 people. I'd making like up to £500 for like a 1 hour class.
Fantastic.
And so I thought, this is a really good business.
Yeah.
And I was doing this, and then I ruptured my ACL, which is the cruciate ligament in your knee, the one that allows you to straighten the leg and do loads of things. And it's actually the worst
Incredibly
one.
painful.
It takes a year. Right?
Yeah.
So I thought, I can't do this. I'm going to have to get other people to do it. So I carried on the business and I started employing other people. And before I knew it, I was making more money because I was on the door. So I wasn't paying the security thing. And same number of people. So then I started creating programs, so 6-week programs that would roll. And then I realised, I needed to have a sort of revenue stream, a rolling revenue stream. So then I set it up so that within 6 weeks I'd be paid this. And then I thought, this is, I've got like 1,000 people in this small village who all come to my class. So I thought, right now this isn't big enough, I need more. So then I launched my own products, which were like supplements and things like that, which I started putting in the local chemists. And I was like, this isn't enough. So then I thought, well, you know what? I became a master trainer for something called Power Hoop, which is a weighted hoop workout.
Okay, I've seen them, I think.
And so then I launched my own workouts. And with the weighted hoop, then I created the DVD. And the thing is, in TV, my first ever job, really presenting in TV, was on Shopping Telly. Because I remember saying, listen, I really want to get in TV. I don't care, even if I have to sell. And that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
But it was really hard because it was at Bid Up TV. And it was rising and falling price auctions. You had a number of products and you had to get them sold within a certain
It's really
time.
difficult.
It was great fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I can remember one time I was selling this, like a Fabergé, it's nasty, Fabergé sort of style egg on a horrible gold-looking tripod thing. And I remember saying, what would you put in something like this? And in my ears I heard, an eighth, crack, skunk, weed. I was like, yeah. And the thing is, and one time I was doing like an electric lawnmower, and it went off. It just went off on its own. And, was it an electric golf buggy? I think it was a golf buggy, actually. Whatever it was, it could go on its own.
Going up.
And it went off, and I went like that, and you heard them go, quick, get her face, get it. They wanted to see when it went wrong. Everyone couldn't wait to capture the moment of it.
Brilliant.
It was actually really good fun.
Good fun.
It's hard work, 4 hours live, 3 cameras. But what it did was give me contact within the shopping telly world, which meant that when I was able to launch my DVD, I was able to approach some people I know at QVC. I said, look, I've launched a DVD, this and that and the other. Then I became a vendor for QVC and launched my own weighted hoop workout with the DVD, which I then became a self-editor because I thought, listen, somebody's got to do it and I'm not paying them. So I learned how to edit. I could edit, but this was editing so that I could create a DVD that had different regions and everything else like that. So I then did that and then sold thousands on QVC.
Amazing.
And so that was for my fitness business. And I became, I created like a character, Lady X Size, with a capital X in the middle, so Lady X and the word size, which is like a fitness guru and brand, and I put it under that brand, which I still have, and I, one day will return to it, but I felt I needed to raise my profile to build my brand to make it bigger.
Okay. Have you always been entrepreneurial then? Has this always been,
Well, it's funny that because when I was at school, they told me, don't ever touch business. Then I did a business degree.
Right.
And in the first year, I got straight distinction. I didn't really find it very difficult. So that's why.
Very smart. And is health, fitness and everything still important to you to this day?
It is very important to me. And actually, to be fair, it did save my life. Because with my second child, Ivory, who is 6 now, so I had him when I was 46, I had preeclampsia.
Right.
But the thing was, it was, I think it's partly because of an autoimmune thing that I have. But anyway, so my blood pressure was obviously going up and up and up and up. And so they said, right, we're going to have to take the baby out. He was only 28 weeks and 3 days. I know, he's such a sweetie. So I spent time with him. So he's so sweet. He's a gorgeous little thing. But yeah, it became eclampsia. And I had liver failure, kidney failure, all the failures. And this is the only reason why you're still alive is because you're fit. Because you're so fit.
Wow.
Because I had my fitness business, so I was teaching 16 classes a week. I was a trainer at all of them. So I learned all the different fitness disciplines and became qualified in nutrition and also in all of them. Everything you can think of. Weighted hoop, body pump, all of them. Zumba Gold, Zumba Tonics for children. Cycling, what's that one you do in the gym? Yeah, that, all of it.
Spinning class.
Spinning, yeah, I hate spinning, but I did it because I knew that, outdoor training. I even was one of the trainers on Lucy Mecklenburg's Lucy thing.
Right, okay.
Remember, yeah.
I'll have to dig that and have a look. Because what was interesting today when you arrived, I love getting presents, by the way, thank you very much. But what is this present that you bought me? What is this?
It's actually a purple sweet potato, and it's the fruit of youth.
Right.
And in places like Japan, where they live for hundreds of years, they have that every day. And they think that the secret to their longevity is actually that.
Purple sweet potato. So this is purple inside,
It's purple inside.
I've never had one of these.
It's really good.
Is it going to knock 10 years off me as soon as I've had
You
this?
don't need 10 years knocked off you. But
But thank you very much.
Yeah.
That is a lovely
Do you like it?
That's an absolutely lovely gift. And
Good.
do I just cook that like a sweet potato, do I?
I tend to cut it in half or cut it in quarters and then
Big's the big.
put them down and then stab it a bit and then let it cook it face down in the oven for a bit.
Right.
So cut it in half or cut it in
And one of your other secrets of looking so useful is papaya, isn't it?
every morning.
Every
Papaya,
day.
yeah. So aloe vera, my aloe vera juice. Then I've started to take a bit of olive oil now. Apparently that's very good.
Oh, really?
It's disgusting. It tastes vile.
Well, you just drink some
Just drink
relevant.
like 2 spoons of it in between the aloe vera.
Okay.
And then I have my papaya. And then, papaya. And then maybe another fruit. So I love melon. Melon is great. So watermelon, very good. All the calm fruits, not the ones that are quite acidic. And then I'll have whatever cereal. So today I had a porridge I made almond milk this morning. So about 10 almonds, water.
You make your own almond milk?
Yeah, just chuck the almonds in. Stick some water in there. Put it in the Vitamix blender. Blend it. That's it. If you want it to be cold, stick some ice in.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. And then you just pour it in. That's it.
I'm going to have a go at that.
It's really good. Make sure if you buy it from the supermarket, they only put about 5 almonds in. You can put up to however many you like.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So my supermarket almond milk, it's not great.
Sometimes I put in what's that collagen powder, which I know doesn't
Yes.
do anything actually. People say it doesn't do anything, but I do it anyway.
Vital proteins or something. Right, okay. Right.
Because it makes the milk really fluffy.
Because I'm always trying to combat because I love wine. And I decided long ago, no matter, I want to be healthy. I really, really want to be healthy. It's massively important. I think that you touched on it. It's not just being healthy for when you're well. It's preparing for when you're not going to be well. And I think you're absolutely right, being healthy. But I realise that I'm never going to give up my glass of Malbec or my Pinot Noir or something. So I'm trying to do everything possible to combat my love of wine, really. So
Well, wine isn't that bad for you. I mean,
depends
I
how
like-
much you have.
I like wine. I do like wine, but
Right.
I kind of went off it a bit when I got a bit of heartburn.
Right.
When I was, after pregnancy and stuff like that, I got heartburn. I never had that before. So I kind of went off it a little bit. So I'm more double Jack Daniels and ginger now.
Right.
Love
okay.
that.
I might try that.
And that's
I'll have a
so
look at
good.
that.
It's like...
So, you don't live in Central. You don't live in London at the moment, are you?
Not anymore.
Right. Okay. Do you miss not living here? I know you're in a lot for work and everything. Do you miss not living in this great city?
Well, I pretty much lived in every single part of it apart from East London.
Okay.
And I spent 13 years moving around London. And when I used to call up my parents, they'd say, my dad would go, Gina, that's my mum's name, Gina,
Right.
it's unfixed abode here. Like as in, where does she live now?
Right.
So I literally, and I did, and that's what I was called. I was called unfixed abode because I moved around London so much and I got to experience so many different parts of it. And I eventually settled and bought a house in Plumstead because I could afford a house for under 100 grand. So I bought
Right.
a 2-bedroom little house. And then after that, I bought like a waterfront property, just near the Royal Arsenal type thing. And so I did settle in the end.
Yeah.
But now I just rent out. I rent it out and then just go off and rent somewhere else. So I rent my property out in London. So I still have stuff in London.
Yes.
But I don't want to live in it.
And what about going out in London, restaurants and bars and everything? Do you still enjoy that scene in London?
I do, but it's usually like there's an event at one of the nice hotels.
Yeah.
So I'm quite lazy now, obviously, as I've got old. I need to make sure there's a nice toilet nearby. And also, you know what I mean, nice chair that I can sit in.
Well, we like to sit down,
I
don't
like
we?
to sit down.
Yeah.
I go, where's the chair? Where's the seat?
I noticed this the other day, actually, going around. Obviously, part of my job is seeing all the great places and going to places. And there's a couple of pubs that I need to check out. Not new pubs, but pubs that are really, really doing well, doing great food, doing great drink. And I noticed that hardly anybody's standing up in pubs anymore. You know, when we went out 20, 30 years ago, you'd stand at the bar, you'd stand in the pub, you'd all stand up. You don't do that anymore, really. You sit down and that's...
sit down. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I go and I think, there's no seat here. I'm out of here. No, I like to sit down now. I mean, I know I'm still into my fitness.
Yeah.
I'm still do a lot of yoga now. I never used to, I was like aerobics. I was like, but now I'm like, no, now I do strength-based.
Calming, stretching.
Strength-based training. So
Right, okay.
I'm currently training at the moment.
Right.
I'm training for the press handstand because I used to be a gymnast. So that's the handstand where you're like that
Yes.
on and you lift your legs up in the air. So I'm training for that because I want to be able to do that. Even as a gymnast, I could do 15 backflips in a row and finish off with a double back somersault. But
Wow.
I couldn't do a press handstand.
No, I can imagine it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to do it?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
So how long have you been training to do that for?
About 3 weeks.
Right. What, every day Train it every day?
I have a trainer who's training me.
Right.
But I go to yoga. So I go to hot yoga literally every other day. I go to hot yoga. And but the press, it's a really hard move because there's different parts of your body that you really need to get strong
Yeah.
because you're taking off. And when my instructor does it, I'm like, oh God, she makes it look so easy.
I used to do hot yoga.
Did you?
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah,
it was
difficult.
so difficult. It was Bikram. It was Bikram's thing I used to do, and it was 90 minutes long. And I did 30 days straight of it, but I used to hate every single minute of it. I never got my head around it. It was the weirdest thing.
But I hated Bikram yoga because it's boring.
It is
It's
really boring.
so boring.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not like Ashtanga, which is like a gymnastic type back bends and,
Yeah.
proper gymnastic type yoga. Headstands and shoulder stands and, it's
So
nice
going
and
back
fun.
to your media, are you loving what you're doing? Are you loving working at GB News? Are you loving presenting your show? Do you love writing it? Is this a great time to be you?
It is great, yeah. Never have I been so liked. I know it will come crashing down because obviously no one can keep rising and actually nobody would want to. It's nice to find the place that you're comfortable, actually. But then I often find that when I get to the place I'm comfortable, I become uncomfortable with being comfortable.
Right.
And so when I'm there, I'm like, nah, this is too comfortable.
Too comfortable.
Probably why I'm single. Because
Yeah.
as soon as you get comfortable, unless they're absolutely amazing, in which case I would never let somebody amazing go.
Right.
But when it comes to the point where I'm just too comfortable in something, then I start to
You
think,
want to shake it up
"Oh,
again.
this doesn't feel right." And actually, I don't know whether it's instinct telling me that it's a false sense of security, but I believe security is an illusion. So I'm never ever sitting there thinking, oh, this is great, this is secure. I would always have other incomes. I was multi-income source and multi-revenue streams because I don't believe in, the rule number one. When I did my business degree, the first thing they said was never put all your eggs in one basket.
basket.
Rule number one.
Yeah.
And that's just so true.
It's absolutely right. And, I watch a lot of content and do a lot of reading about entrepreneurialism. And, the great minds that I follow, they always say, as soon as you get comfortable as an entrepreneur, you're not an entrepreneur anymore. Basically, you've got to move on. You've got to keep that uncomfortable feeling that obviously runs in you.
Yeah.
And you find that in your media career as well, that you're constantly trying to, obviously I've watched your show and everything. You seem to be always wanting to push the boundaries and provoke people to think.
And it is quite interesting because I didn't realise how watched elements of GB News are. So it might not just be the show itself on linear TV, but the other parts of it include all the stuff on YouTube and things like that, where if I look at some of the clips, so the Ngozi Fulani monologue, the woman who went to the palace dressed like something from another planet.
Yeah.
That monologue alone just on YouTube was like over 1 million views, or almost 1 million.
Wow.
And so there's I'll do stuff and maybe a monologue will hit 500,000 and stuff on Twitter and all the social media. And so often I'll go out and people will stop me and I'm thinking, they look at me as though they know me and I know them.
Yeah.
So I start talking and then they say, oh yeah, love that monologue. And I think, oh, I don't know you. I didn't realise I don't know you.
That's brilliant.
But yeah, so GB News is great there because they allow you to push the boundaries. I was at the BBC before and that was very nice. But, they didn't get the best out of me. And they, people say to me, oh my God, what happened to you? And I'm like, well, nothing, that's who I was. But I couldn't really be that at the BBC because I would have been fired, quite simply.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
and, somebody who's, I've been an avid media watcher forever, really. I've always been interested in the media and had a PR company. GB News is changing the media landscape. There's no doubt about it. It's pushed the boundaries. It's upset an awful lot of people, which I think media should do. I just think it should do it. How do you see the future of media? How do you think, because of the changes that we've had in the last couple of years, probably since a year before COVID, really, I sort of saw the landscape really, really changing. What do you think the future's going to look like?
I think there's going to be a lot more individuals doing their own thing. So, Dan Wootton, who broke away from GB News in the end, obviously he couldn't go back. So they let him go. He set up his own thing. I think we're heading in a similar way to America in terms of media. So there'll be, people like Tucker Carlson. We'll have our own equivalents of that here. And I think things like the BBC, I can see that fragmenting quite quickly. People aren't watching it. They don't want to watch it. They don't want to be told what the news should be or how they should be thinking. That's the problem the BBC have. And also the public don't really want to pay for it. Yeah. As much as I respect the BBC and am thankful for the training, I think the BBC should be a training school. I don't think it should have all the different elements that it has. And I think they're on, 60 radio stations now?
Yeah.
Why have they got 60 radio stations? At least 10 of them are national stations, Asian network, this network, dance, this. Why? They're not commercial. I think they're setting themselves up to be commercial and they're taking advantage of us.
The land grab.
So they're creating, so that when they do have to go commercial, they've got all this. But I would actually like to regain that land from them because I don't think they should have all the buildings, all the stations. I think in order to survive, I think they need to streamline the business because people don't want that anymore. So the internet has changed everything. People don't take the media from one source. So in order to be relevant, you have to really stay with the times and be focused. So I can see it going in a way that there will be lots of successful, powerful individuals who are able to sway the narrative, and I want to be one of them.
So you're going to see more and more fragmentation of media,
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
And so we'll have niche pockets, so we'll all view our media differently.
Yeah.
And you think that's good?
Yeah, I do. I think it's good. It gives more opportunity. There's no excuse now. Someone says it's because I'm black. Well, not really, because you could actually set up something online and no one would even know what colour you are. So I think it means that if you have the mindset to push forward and be successful, then you won't be stopped. Because I think the way it was, in order to be a successful musician, you had to have a record label, you know what I mean? In order to get on TV, you had to go to ITV, BBC, there was nothing else. The more fragmented it's become, the more opportunity is out there. And the more that opportunity is fragmented, so it's not just white people, it's not just black people, it's not just... there is just everything has become literally one colour, and I think that's great. That's great. It'll be based on how good you are.
Yeah.
And whether you're providing something that people are interested in. It won't be because you've been force-fed the only thing that is available, so you have to have it.
The issue that I have with it, and the worry that I have, is because of fragmentation and because we'll all watch niche channels or that we will just get sucked into that point of view and we won't get challenged in our points of view. Now, what I like about your show and everything, you bring people together at different points of view, and you'll have the row, and you want the row, you love the row.
I love the row.
But what I worry about is that, I've had friends that get their news basically from TikTok and things like this, and they go down rabbit holes, and that's the only way they're thinking. And that's what my concern is about fragmentation of media, that you will watch a channel that has a very, very narrow view of the world, and that's where you get all your information from, so that's where you get all your opinion from. And I think that's the challenge. We've got to keep having channels like GB News, where it has different opinions coming in and having the arguments, and I'm worried that might disappear.
You think? I think what you've probably described is what it was before people like GB News came along. So we all got our opinions from the BBC and ITV and all the 4 channels at the beginning. And then as it became more fragmented, people then started to get more and more opinions. But then I do agree that it can polarise opinions, so that you will stick with just that one thing. But then you have the opportunity to find other things, whereas before you had just that one thing. That's why they get so angry when GB News succeeds, because they're like, well, we've had this, as Adam Bolton called it, the broadcast ecology has never been shifted. They've had it so good for so long. Nobody's ever challenged their perspective. They've never had to fight for their audience.
Yeah.
And now they do.
Yeah.
So I actually think that that's better. At least there's more opportunity to hear and reach other points of view. Whether you choose to take them is another thing, but I suppose you can't force people to listen to everything. But it would be, I like to hear lots of different opinions. I listen to everything. Even if I'm going to do what I'm going to do, I'll still listen.
You're still listening.
Because sometimes there's always a nugget, there's always something in something that someone has said that could help you. So if you listen, and that's my thing, I always listen. It's not just talking, it's actually listening is the skill. If you listen, then you'll hear it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I listen to talk radio a lot, not the station.
Right, that's it.
No, generally, LBC and all the talk
Oh, I
radios.
love all talk stations, yeah.
And I love the talk stations, and quite often they will introduce a subject, and I'll have a strong opinion at the beginning of the argument, and by the end of the discussion, listen to people calling everything. I have changed my opinion or mellowed my opinion a little bit, and I think that's a healthy place to be, isn't it?
That is, but I can't take James O'Brien.
All
I
right.
listen to James O'Brien on LBC specifically for the other side of everything.
Yeah.
And for my blood to boil as he speaks.
Are you screaming at the radio?
I listen to
basically?
him and I just think to myself, my God. I mean, I think he's an actor, frankly, because he had completely the other point of view and then now he's got the other one.
Right.
But then that's good that he's able to do that. But I actually love and hate him at the same time. But
He's very bright. He's a very smart
honestly.
man.
And if he's actually reflecting something that you think, then it's wonderful listening to him assassinate his opponents.
Yeah.
But I don't like the way he treats his guests on the phone.
No, he can be a bit short with them.
But then I do like to listen because it's the other side. It's the other side, and it's just good to hear somebody else just infuriating you. But it's funny as well.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Do you
funny.
ever change your opinion though from listening to a phone-in show? Do you ever start off with one opinion and then do what I do and mellow? Am I just weak-willed?
No. Sometimes I do. Like
Yeah.
I'm quite malleable, and I'm open to suggestion that I've got the wrong end of the stick of something. I'm open to suggestion. I'm quite malleable. I like to hear other points of view, but I don't often find that I'm wrong. That's the only thing. So that's the only thing.
Yeah.
I don't often, but then sometimes I am. And when I am, I accept that I'm wrong or that I've seen it differently, or I'm okay with saying, yeah, all right. What's the worst that can happen if I accept that I was wrong?
Going back to London, do you think London still dominates the sort of media landscape? Do you still think that has that dominant position across the country? And if so, do you think that's right?
In the UK?
Yeah.
I think London does have that dominant media landscape, although places like Manchester are coming up quite nicely, and Leeds. I mean, even if you look at you can always tell how good the place is by its nightlife. I think if you look at it, you think, oh yeah, this is...
Yeah.
So Manchester is good as well, but London is the capital city, so I think it's fine that it should dominate the media landscape. That's good, but it is nice to see that London isn't the only place to be and that people are no longer. I think COVID had a lot to do with it, where people realised that London is great, but actually there's some other amazingly beautiful parts of this country.
Yeah.
So, you know. And also, if you want to visit London, if you want to be part of London, you don't actually have to live in it.
No, it's true. No, it's true. You know, London is great for visitors, or either from the rest of the UK or international. I think it's a great place to visit and enjoy. And then if you want to go back to your country retreat, you can do that. And I think it's interesting since COVID. I think what's happening locally as well. I think we are into our local communities more than we were. And I think that's sort of happening. You know, you're sort of like wanting to know how your neighbour was or your local shopkeeper and everything like that. I felt that. But
depending on whether you dob them in or not.
Well,
he's broken the rules.
Did you dob anybody in?
No, I can't see anybody from my house anyway.
You know, I'd live in Maida Vale, and during COVID, I got to know my shopkeeper because he would deliver to me when we was all, he would deliver and everything like that. Before then, I used to just go into the shop and, that'd be about it. And I think communities came together during COVID. And I think that's why people are looking locally more. But I still feel as though London is very, very dominant in media.
Yeah. And I think it should be as well. I love London.
Yeah.
I love it. I had such a nice time in London. And I haven't really moved far from it, to be fair.
No.
But I love doing my job. We're based in Paddington, so I'm pretty much there all the time. I just, when you have children, it's just easier.
Yeah, to
be out of
little
London.
Bit
That's the only reason.
What's your favourite London memory? Would it be the James Brown concert, or what would be your favourite? And I'm talking about sort of going out. I'm talking about lifestyle. What's your favourite?
Okay, so my favourite memory has to be. Okay, so many, many, many years ago, I was on Blind Date.
You was on Blind Date?
I was on Blind Date. And I did it because I wanted to get into TV. So this is one of the things I did to get into TV. And I wore this crown and this bra thing with beads on it, and then this tiny shorts with beads coming down like this, and then this thing like a Wonder Woman thing.
Brilliant.
And so I wore that on Blind Date, and it was with Cilla Black. And I did a forward walk over, did some gymnastics there. And
were you picking or were you getting chosen?
I was picking.
You were picking.
I picked something.
Of course you were.
Because I wouldn't have gone on otherwise. The reason why that happened was because the first auditions I went to for Blind Date, I got there really early, like everybody, and there was loads of people, and you had to sit around a table, and I thought, oh, this isn't very good. So I thought, you know what? The next time they came around, I thought, I'll wait till the end when everyone's gone.
Yeah.
So then I went to this. So the next time I waited till the end, everyone was gone. I sat down, and all those people who would have been on the tables interviewing other people were interviewing me. I thought, that's how to do it. Don't go at the beginning. So I went at the end, and obviously they picked me, and I was the picker, and I picked a gas man from Birmingham, and he was actually full of hot air. He really was. And he was really annoying because he kept singing that goddamn George Michael in my ears. I love George Michael.
Right,
but
so do I.
It was like in my ear, I'm never gonna dance again. Or I'd say, if I'd said, I'm not going to dance, I'm never going to dance again. Whatever I would say, you got to have faith. You got to have faith. It's one of those. Everything he said, he kept doing it. He was looky likey as well. It was horrible.
Oh, wow.
It was a really bad time.
Where did you go on your date?
Anyway, we went on the Eastern Oriental Express through Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, all of that. And do you know what was really good about it? At the time I was living in Crouch End. I moved to Crouch End because of Banner's Cafe.
Yes,
just
superb.
Amazing. I lived there for a while. And the people who owned Banners were on that train. So I was chatting to them, so it was great. But the best night, the reason why this was such a good night, because after the show, you don't go away straight away. After the show, I was wearing the outfit for the show. They then take you for a meal. And I went for a meal at, what's his name? Oh, God, I've forgotten the name of it now. James something anyway. It's this restaurant that everyone goes to. Not Sloppy Joe's.
Joe Allen's.
Joe Allen's, that's it.
Joe Allen's in Covent Garden.
Yeah. Joe Allen's in Covent Garden.
Brilliant.
And Paul Whitehouse was there.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. So I had such a nice evening after that. But the better night, though, because this is just the lead up to it, was the night when it was actually on air, on TV.
Yeah.
Because obviously we'd done it now and it was finished. So I hired a stretch limo and we had some clubs that we were visiting. And also I went, so the limo had a few places to visit in London. And one of them was a hotel where some people who I'd trekked in Namibia, they were all meeting up there because I trekked the desert in Namibia when I was working at Capital Radio. They were my clients and I managed to bag some sponsorship out of them, and so I could go and do this trek and be a reporter out there. So we trekked the deserts in Namibia, and everyone was getting together that night. So my limo stopped off at, I think it was a Park Lane Hotel or one of the Londons, or maybe it was the Grosvenor. But we all met and everything, and somebody gave me a little note saying, good luck, you will be successful, you will get your own show on TV. I kept that little note, and then we got back in the limo, then we went off to some other clubs, The End, which the limo couldn't get round the corner because it was fantastic. And I can remember going back, I was living in Brixton at the time, and in this room that I'd was renting, which I'd painted the floor black, oh, it was terrible, and zingy yellow for the walls, it was too bright. I was like, and my friends were all staying with me, 4 of us, and 2 of us, me and my main friend, we'd stayed and carried on clubbing. The other 2 had gone home.
Right.
And it's funny, when we got back, they weren't there. I was like, what happened? And what had happened was they'd got on a bus and fallen asleep on the bus and ended up somewhere else. So when we got back home to my place, we were like, where are they? They arrived like about 5 o'clock in the morning.
3 hours later, something. But that's amazing, because Blind Date was massive, wasn't it? It was like 15, 20 million viewers and stuff like that. So you must have felt like that night you'd have been spotted, it's like a celebrity.
Because I was wearing the outfit and everything, so everyone thought, oh, that's that woman, that's that girl.
Because we didn't used to go out on a Saturday until Blind Date finished. You'd used to watch Blind Date and then you'd go out. It was,
So, so that was probably...
Is that on YouTube?
No, thank God. I don't think YouTube was around at that point.
Yeah, but they might have...
I don't. You know what? I don't think it was.
No.
It was just before, because I'd actually, maybe it maybe it had just set up.
That is brilliant. I think you're the only person I've met who's been on Blind Date. That's superb. So looking forward then, what's next? What's in the pipeline? What are your hopes?
God, there's so much if I gave it all away now. No. So I think I'm going to write a book.
Are you?
I'm going to write a book. Yeah.
A novel or?
No, it's just a story.
That's right, okay.
It's a true story.
Right.
But I'm writing a book.
That's amazing. You've started writing it?
I've started writing it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm going to write a book.
Well, I look forward to that. And my final question is about London, obviously, because we're celebrating London. How do you think London's going to change in the next 10, 15 years? What do you think the changes that we're going to see? I've seen a lot of changes in the last 5 to 10 years. I think the next 10, 15 years is going to be massive. How do you see the next 10, 15 years panning out?
I think London will and should expand, but I think it should go southeastwards. And I think the only way London can sort of expand in itself, because there's a huge new population, especially with immigration the way it is, both legal and illegal migration. And a lot of them, most people flocking to England rather than the other parts of the country, and a lot of them in London. I think London will expand out towards the southeast, and I think I'm hoping that some of the mayors will start building some more bridges heading in that direction, because there's so much more land and there's so much more stuff. So I see London sort of expanding and being more connected as well. So some of the less connected areas getting better transport links. That's the way I see it, because I suspect more people as well will carry on working at home. But I think we're getting a bit bored of that now. We need to go out and do stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's the change in the last 6 months. More and more people that I know that go working from home's brilliant. They're loving it. They're gradually wanting to be back, and London's got a buzz about it. That's just too attractive to sit at home. So long may that continue.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant, Nana. Thank you so much for chatting to me. It's been fun, hasn't it?
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
And thank you for my potato.
Well, let me know what it's like.
I will. Thank you.